All right, we're here with our 2019 BRZ, and I ran into a little problem today putting the snows on. And this is the second time it's happened this season, and I figured I'll bring the camera along. It's not uncommon, and if you guys have the same problem, maybe it'll be helpful to see the procedure to replace it. But what happened was I stripped one of the lug nuts trying to get the wheel off. In fact, with this car, I stripped two, but I know why. The other car, I stripped one, have no idea why. It's really strange because we swap out the snows to the summers, you know, so these things are getting changed twice a year. Those threads really stay in good shape. They don't get corroded. So the other one was weird. This one, I know why. Let's just take a look. Now you're going to see a lot of rust on the disc. This car's been outside for like 3 weeks without running, so this isn't common, and this isn't a corrosion issue anyway. But all right, so here's what happened with this. You can see this stud is all stripped. This one actually snapped when I went to get the nut off. As soon as I started trying to loosen these, I could tell that they were cross-threaded and just impact driven right on. And the reason why is because earlier this year my son had an issue with his tire. He needed a plug and brought it to a local garage. He was at school, and the local mechanic removed the wheel, fixed the tire, and when he put the wheel back on, he either over torqued or just cross threaded and kept going with his automatic tool. So this is what happens. This is not uncommon, and a lot of times you'll get your car back from a mechanic or a service, and you'll go to remove the lug nuts, and you'll find that they're on way too tight. I mean, there are cars that have torque specs for lug nuts, and the BRZ is probably somewhere around between 80 and 100 foot-pounds. I'd have to look. But these guys just set their tools at one setting, and it works for a Tahoe and it works for a BRZ. So this is what happened, and now I've got to deal with it. All right, so what do we have to do to take care of this? What we have to do is we've got to push these wheel studs that way, and they'll come out from behind. So they're pressed in right now. And the other thing is, you can see that this brake shield is along the entire disc. So if you tried to push these wheel studs that way, you're going to hit this. So there is a cutout right here for the caliper, right? So now you've got an area here where, well, it goes all the way in. Now that you should be able to get the wheel stud out. So what we have to do is remove this caliper. So I'm going to go get some tools, and let's do that. This is going to vary on all different cars. Most cases it's 2 bolts. So let me go do that. Okay, so I've got the wrench on one here. That's one bolt. And the other bolt is right here where my finger is. Okay, these, in this case, it's 17 millimeter. So let me loosen those. All right, so we've got the bolts off. We have to spread the caliper out because it's kind of locked on there. The pads are squished on the disc. So a lot of times you can get a screwdriver, a flat blade in there, and just kind of move the caliper and loosen things up. In my case, it's very hard to even see in there because of the clearance between the caliper and the fender. But I'm just going to come in from this side, and I'm going to pry a little bit that way, and it should open up. So let's see if you can see that. I've got a little piece of rubber here that I'll use just to protect the disc. And we're just gonna put a little pressure on that, and it should widen. Yeah, it's already looser here. And you know, you could loosen the bleeder valve to make it even easier, but we're just trying to do this quick. Okay, you saw that came flying off. Alright, so I've got the caliper hanging and I moved that stand out of the way so we can see what's going on back here. So if you look from behind, you cannot see the back of the wheel studs. And of course, because that would make it very easy, with the Mazda, it was simply remove the caliper, you can see the back of the wheel stud, and you just punch the wheel stud through, pull it out from and back. But of course this car is going to be tougher, so we got to remove the disc. Alright, so we've got to we have two holes here that we're going to thread bolts in, and those bolts will push off the hub and pull the disc away. But we have to contract the brake shoes, because there's for the emergency brake, there's brake shoes, and there's two shoes that push outward when you apply the brake, and it rubs on this wall. Okay, those have to be contracted in so they're not pushing on the wall, otherwise the disc isn't coming off. So that adjustment is here. We'll have to line that up. I'll show you that. Of course, this turns into more of a pain than the Mazda was so easy, and because this is a rear, we're taking the disc off, we're having to deal with emergency brake, so it is what it is. But let me keep going. All right. I think you can see in this hole there is like a star adjuster, and we're going to spin it down this way, and that should loosen, actually contract the brake pads in, the brake shoes in, because this is a drum. Imagine it's like a drum brake inside of this. So okay, so let me get a tool. Okay, so we've spun that star adjuster a little bit, probably a turn and a half. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens as we tighten. All right, now we can take a look at what we're dealing with. So here's your wheel stud. That's a good one. That's bad, and this one's bad, and so they're gonna go out that way. Okay, so we're gonna tap on it, and you'll see them come right out. So there you go. Thank you, Mr. Mechanic, for allowing me to do this job. And have this fun. I owe it all to you. So now I've got to go get two new wheel studs. They're very common. You can get them at the parts store, and then we'll be back. Okay, we're back from the parts store. I got 3 of these, even though I need 2, just in case we have a problem. They're cheap enough, $3. So I'm going to put a little bit of grease on these teeth, and then it's going to come in from behind, and I'll show you what we're going to do after that. All right, so those teeth kind of engage in teeth in the hub, and the way you pull that is you basically put a spacer over that and a lug nut. And as we tighten the lug nut, it should pull the wheel stud into the hub and engage the teeth. Alright, now that's not something I want to do with an impact driver. I'm just going to carefully work this thing with my hands so that I get a feel for it. And I can see it from behind here. You can probably see it on the camera. So obviously the hub's trying to move as I'm tightening. So by taking this and just putting it between these two studs, I can hold the hub as I tighten. You can see it pulling in. That feels like it bottomed out, or maybe the lug nut's not deep enough. Let's see. No, it still has a ways to go. Let me switch lug nuts. This was a lug nut I bought because at the parts store I asked for 2 lug nuts. Of course they don't have black and they don't have the deep ones that we have on here. So I'll use this. I'm gonna have to go out on Amazon or something and get a set. Okay, that feels like it hit the bottom. Let's see. Yeah, you can see it's flush now. We have to do that one more time, and I'll be back when I'm done. Alright, so we're back. We've got both wheel studs on. I can start to put everything back. I won't bore you with that video, but while we have this all open, just so you can see, here's that star adjuster. We went this way. We rotated it this way. I'm going to have to go back out this way and go in that direction once I get the disc back on to put it back in position. Then I'll put the caliper on. Then finally the winter wheels and tire will go on. So it was a good hour and a half of my time wasted because some mechanic didn't pay attention and either over torqued or cross threaded both bolts. So hopefully you guys don't have to deal with this, but if you do, you can see how it's done. It's not brain surgery, and you know, it might make more sense for you to do it yourself than to bring it someplace and pay somebody and wait or drop the car off, which is always a pain. So hope this helps.